All right, Jacobs and Helly from the Harmon Solar Studios on the crackling airwaves of 1580 AM, 99.3 and 95.9 FM. As we broadcast to you on this Monday, we're going to step aside from a little bit of sports, although you hear this guy talking sports, and he'll be sitting in with Dale for the last hour because I have my final fit-in today. I'm only about 5-6 weeks away from being able to eat those bagels you brought in. The great Dave McKee, a.k.a. Dickie Felt, a.k.a. the purveyor of the Constructors Bonding Company, is back from his mission literally to help save lives in Ukraine. And it's great to see you, brother. And
thank you.
Honestly, if I didn't know where you were, I'd swear you were at some club holiday for 6 weeks out there. I mean, you look really good. You look no worse. Saving people's lives works for you.
Well, let's not go overboard. I didn't save anybody. I helped them.
Yeah, that's what you say.
I helped them get away from a bad situation.
Right. You saved people's lives.
I really got to underscore, especially the Polish people. They have stepped up. There are tens of thousands of volunteers over there.
Yeah.
And, a little bit different in each country, but, yeah, there's a lot of people.
How many, if you didn't know, and we've talked a little bit about it, our buddy Dave McKee decided, because his conscience told him to, and he can talk more about that, to go over to Europe and help a lot of these refugees, at least try to get settled. And how many people have crossed over from Ukraine just into Poland alone?
The last number I saw is probably a week old, about 3.4 million people.
Wow.
Not all of them stayed there, but a large percentage have, and that's actually now creating friction in Poland.
And a lot of them think that they'll, staying there temporarily, you correct me if I'm wrong, and anticipate going back.
I think that's universal.
Yeah.
And that's problematic because I'm just some schmuck from Arizona. I'm not going to sit there and say, look, you're out of your mind. You're not going back next week. If the war ends today, you're not going back. You've got housing infrastructure's gone, utility infrastructure's gone, health care, security, police, fire, and stuff like that. It's 5 years before some of these places are habitable, not to mention, I don't want to go on, but not to mention stories like a woman that I talked to who went into her basement when the shelling started, largely ran out of food and water and had to exit because they were going to die of starvation. Came up to the ground level. Her neighbor's house was blown up. The neighbors were dead. And they surrendered to the Russians and said, we're leaving. And the Russians said, no, you're not. We have mined the entire area. You can't go. And they just started walking, and the Russians blindfolded them, put them in the back of a truck, and trucked them out of the minefield. And once they got clear, they patted them on the head and said, "You're on your own." So that's a long way of expressing that it's years before the minefields are cleared to start the building, to restore a community that people can go back and live in.
If you don't mind me asking, and listen, if I touch on anything you don't want to talk about, by all means, pass. But we haven't gone over notes and said anything. So
sure.
I would just like to know a guy who's got a good life over here. Let's be honest. You got a good life here, right? I mean, you got no complaints, right? I would assume. Why would you go? Why did you go?
Well, again, the first thing I want to underscore is that I don't find me going to be particularly remarkable. I would, if I can use the term blessing, I am blessed with a great life. I've got a great family and a great business, and everything is clicking. Why would I go?
Yeah.
Because I got a blessed life and a great family and a great business, and everything's clicking. I mean, what else am I going to do? Just be fat and sit at my desk and write checks so other people can go? So I was called to go because I'm in a life situation where I'm one of the people that has the freedom to go. I ran into dozens and dozens of people. A kid, Anthony, from England, who was in the Warsaw train station, and he just got up and went, and he said, there's so many volunteers here in Warsaw that they don't need me. They have 50 arriving a day. Now, of course, some people go home because they have to work. He said, well, I'm going to head down to Chisinau, which is the capital of Moldova. he said, I'm going to go down there and help. And I said, well, I hope to see you there.
Yeah.
I got a million questions. So can I ask you how long you debated within yourself before you decided to go? I'm sure you didn't wake up on Tuesday and say, I'm leaving on Wednesday.
You don't know Dave
Well,
McKee.
maybe I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not. I'm thinking you did not wake up on Tuesday and decide to go on Wednesday. That's what I'm thinking.
My wife's story is that I did. However, I told her a month before the Russian invasion occurred that if they went in, I'm going. And she alleges that I, just told her on Tuesday that my plane was on Wednesday.
They did not want you to go, your family, right? Am I right? Am I, again, if I'm stepping into a sensitive area.
No, it's all right.
Okay.
It's all right. It's hard to define, did they want me to go? There is no circumstance under which my wife would not support me going to help some people. So it's a part of our DNA to do this kind of thing. I think there was worry. I won't call it fear. But yeah, it was, and theoretically, Dale, you probably have seen this. I mean, I contribute something at the home, so everything that I do at the home is now on Nikki's back. So, but again, just tens of thousands of people over there, everybody just pitching in to help them out.
All right, so you went over there not affiliated with anybody.
Right.
You land.
Yep.
Take us through like the first day or so. Like, I mean, you just walk along and look for somebody with a vest on, or.
And if I might add to his question, I mean, are you nervous? Are you afraid? I mean, let's face it. I don't know that you've been in too many war zones, and I realize they weren't dropping bombs in Poland. I understand that, but you're not that far away.
So I've had a life where travel abroad has been a huge part. So I don't like countries where they use weird alphabets. So that's a little bit intimidating. But pretty much all of the infrastructure needs, you can go to a train station ticket agent and they all speak English. You can certainly talk to a lot of policemen and so forth. I got off the plane. I went to a hotel. I was supposed to be met by a guy who never showed up. Through the church I go to, somebody knew somebody that knew somebody, and I had a contact in Poland who is actually a resident of Arizona, went to work at a house that was being rehabilitated to house refugees, and the house really deserved to be torn down. Did that for a few days before there wasn't anything else to do. Got on a train and headed down to Budapest, and by then other people had said reach out here, there, and whatever.
So Budapest, I mean, you could have probably gone anywhere of 10, 15, 20 different. Why'd you choose Budapest?
It's a long story. I know some missionaries in Florence. I called them. We communicated back and forth. They said, you need to talk to a lady named Lydia, who's in Moldova. And Lydia said, well, it's really a fluid situation here. So for stability, so that if you're going to spend the time traveling over here, you want to have something to do when you get here. She said to contact a guy named Balázs in a town called Pécs in Hungary. And most of what I did was between Pécs and Vojta, Hungary.
So let me just see if I heard you straight. So your very first contact in Poland never showed.
Right.
Man. Oh, I got a lot more. We got a lot more questions for you. Okay.
All right.
The great Dave McKee.
Not great.
Back from his Euro life-saving mission.
Hey, by the way, you did. If you could give Chief a wake-up call every morning, he actually beat me in this morning. I go, "What the hell are you doing here?" He goes, "McKee texted me what I want for breakfast."
See that?
Yeah, 4:45. Just let me know.
See that? He lands in the United States. The first thing he's thinking, "What can I do for the chief?"
That's it.
Appreciate it.
Jacobson Helly with the great Dave McKee on the Fanatic. Jacobson Helly from the Harmon Solar Studios.
I win.
In Midtown Scottsdale. Dave McKee, a.k.a. Dickie Felt, back in time from Europe. No, you're not suckering me into another playoff bet. Yes, I think the Suns will play for the championship. And no, I'm not going to sit here and not say that because of some jink. Hey, Gracie Slumpbuster, your texts don't get read until you upgrade your playbook, my friend. Just a little shot across the bow.
Okay.
I mean, seriously, you're sending in text the 1950s called. They want their takes back. Dave McKee has joined us. He's just back from Hungary and
We'll read them in the 9 o'clock hour.
Poland. Just a light moment. Were you able to spread the gospel of the Suns over there? Did you meet a lot of Americans?
No. A very dear friend of mine, Drew from New Zealand, showed up to help out. A couple of Americans who haven't lived in America for quite some time. Most of the work is being done by the nationals of whatever country I was in.
I'm sorry, Dale, but could you tell me exactly? So, okay, people would get out of Ukraine, cross over the borders into some of these countries, and what do you do from there? How do you exactly how do you help them? Well, you and many of the other volunteers.
Sure, there's a whole network of systems, and I actually have an app on my phone with some paramilitary extraction guys. When I got there, one of my fervent hopes was to extract 2 women from Mariupol, which is an absolute hotbed currently in Russian hands.
Completely devastated.
Completely devastated, and I don't know why they didn't get out, but they needed to get out. They went dark for the last 2 weeks, feared that they were dead. This morning, it came up that they're alive and they're ready to get out. And
wow, that's great, man.
I've reached out to the extraction team that actually drives into Mariupol, picks them up at a specific location, not to be disclosed, and gets them over to the border.
The extraction team is part of the volunteers, is it not? It's not part of the Ukrainian military.
No. It's a group of former U.S. military people.
Okay.
And some others. There are some non-U.S. nationals. But, I found, Bruce, and I recommend this to anyone, if you just start asking questions and let people talk about themselves, you'll get the phone number or the contact information of this guy who will send you to this guy, and all of a sudden there's this whole network. I mean, there's a guy in Denmark that's providing free flights, housing, and jobs to Ukrainian refugees because they have zero unemployment and they're gasping for bodies to come to live there.
So one of the things that you'd give us periodic updates and snarky little texts that we'd wake up to in the morning. But one of the things that you said that your doula was driving and things like that.
Yeah.
Do you have an app for maps? How do you find your way around? Is it wrong side of the road, right side of the road?
No, I can do that.
Yeah.
That's fun, actually. It's great to be on the wrong side of the road. My buddy Drew, who is now doing all the driving I was doing, it was struggling with it because he'd see that he's on the lane he's supposed to be on, and for him, intuitively, I'm in the wrong lane.
Right.
I absolutely been to these countries, and there's just no way I could drive, man. I could see myself getting into an accident on every corner.
You can get used to it, but, to answer your question, I made a comment to somebody. Imagine what this was like in 1950 when there wasn't Google Maps. Mm-hmm. My phone says turn right at blah, 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 blah street, which is what it exactly sounds like. So I make a right turn, and the map says we're on the right place. And a lot of these border crossings are in the middle of nothing, so you're driving on faith. The furthest one was a 6-hour one-way trip to the Slovakia-Ukraine border. And, it's 20 minutes outside of the nearest town. And you have apps like WhatsApp. Before I went, I didn't know what WhatsApp is, but apparently only the people communicating between each other on WhatsApp is totally private. Nobody can see it. So I send this pregnant woman and with her 2-year-old daughter a picture of myself. I'm standing at the border. Find me when you get across. And it works perfectly. So,
if you don't mind me asking, at any point did your emotions get the best of you? You see all these children, no fathers, all that stuff. I mean, at any point did your emotions, catch up to you a little bit?
I guess I'm man enough to admit that I've probably cried every day I was there and every day I've been home. So, yeah, it does. And you think about a family that came across the Hungarian-Ukraine border without the patriarchs, and best guess is that the patriarchs are dead. They left beforehand, but then there was no contact. And just like the two women in Mariupol, the reality is that the infrastructure for communication has been bombed. It just turns out that they couldn't send a text. So we hope and pray that they're okay. And how long before they are reunited? Who knows?
Yeah. Will you be going back?
I am going back around May 25th. Right.
Oh, okay. So you already have it in the plan. You already have it up on the chalkboard.
My family's having fun in Barcelona the 10th through the 24th, and I'm putting them on the plane back, and I'm heading over.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
At any point, did you feel like, I won't say, well, your life was in risk, or at any point did it get a little hairy?
No, I was, the hairiest thing was it snowed a week ago today in Hungary. And
I don't imagine you left Phoenix with a whole lot of snow gear.
Exactly. So I was cold the whole trip, but
okay.
But the driving it through a mountain pass on snowy roads.
Yeah. Ooh,
the closest combat was never less than 90 miles.
Okay, so I thought I read where there was a bomb, whether it was intentional or unintentional, that was very close to the Poland border at some point.
No. If you heard it, I didn't hear it. It may be true.
There was. I'm right with Dale. There was, and I don't remember a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
There was supposedly, this is what was reported. Okay, that there was that the Russians started bombing an area near.
Okay.
I can't say how close. And of course, the Russian border isn't just half a mile. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Right.
But there was a report of the Russians bombing somewhere near. What is the biggest Ukrainian city near the Polish border?
Lviv, I guess.
Okay,
Probably.
all right. That's a city I've heard of. That's in the news a lot.
I really haven't studied the map a whole lot, but I'm going to suggest a couple of things. Number one, you should never be surprised what Russia has done and is doing. One of the reasons that refugees couldn't get out is because Russia was shelling, firing on, bombing the escape corridors.
Yes.
So these are
They're
designated.
bombing train stations, for heaven's sakes, where people are trying to get on a train just to get the hell out. These people are inhuman. They're bloodsuckers.
The people who, there's an established corridor, it's women and children, they're walking, they're bicycling, they're in a cart being drawn by a horse, maybe a car, are going to the Polish, Hungarian, Slovakian border, and they're getting shelled. So I wouldn't be surprised if Russia bombed a city next to the border. I actually would expect it, and I think you're going to see with the, what do they call him, the Butcher of Syria, I believe the new commanding general of the Russian army is.
Yeah, this guy. Yeah. This is a guy who led a lot of the murder when Russia went into Syria,
Right.
and this was a guy who was just kill citizens.
Yep.
Right, which of course has no strategery. It's just complete savagery.
Right. And he's the guy that has authorized chemical weapons in other places and so forth. So this is going to get a lot worse before it gets better, and everyone on the planet should worry exactly how worse. Because
were you prepared in terms of gear, or I may be over my head here, but isn't there like if you're exposed to chemicals, isn't there like a pill that you can take? I may be over my head here on that part. But did you have gear or anything just in case somebody sent some chemicals? No, nothing.
Nothing. Hungary is the third country in from the heavily controlled southern Russian occupied area of Ukraine. So you've got Moldova and Romania. So, there would have been notice there. If they were going to come in through Ukraine straight into Hungary, they would have had to take a lot of territory to get there. So, it was safe.
I got to imagine people in Moldova, Estonia, Poland, some of the others I haven't mentioned, Latvia, they're not sleeping well.
No, they're not. Moldova probably is sleeping well because they're pro-Russian. So I don't think Russia has to invade Moldova in order to control it. Probably controls it now. Interestingly, the newly re-elected leader of Hungary is pro-Russia as well, and
Orban.
And the EU is going to give him a real hard time. The economy of Hungary is explosively great. I mean, California, LA is building everything they can possibly build. It's nothing compared to Budapest. So the EU has a lot of influence over this guy, and $90 billion a year that they're pumping into the country. Well, that can dry up really quick and change his attitude. So, Russia's not poised to invade Poland or Hungary or Slovakia at the moment. So
now with ground troops, but
not with ground troops.
Yeah, right. Not invade and hold.
And hold.
Right.
Yeah.
They can invade by sky or by boat.
They can invade the U.S. if you think about it.
Well, that's true. Yeah. That they do have that capability. Yeah. So if you think it's going to get a whole lot worse before it gets any better?
I have extreme faith in the inhumanity of man. So they have a track record of doing, chemical, tactical weapons, biological weapons.
Do you meet any Russians? Any Russian soldiers?
Well, I have met Russians in my lifetime.
Right.
Yeah.
But you didn't come across any Russian soldiers.
No.
Seems, if you believe again the reporting, and take what you believe, but a lot of the Russians, want to put down their arms. They don't even believe in this mission.
Right. And I think that you've seen that.
The Russian fighters, I mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you've seen that. A lot of. I read a report that Ukraine has more tanks today than they had when the war started, because Russian soldiers have walked away from their tanks, and they've taken them into their own equipment.
10 seconds. Can you? You can't do it in 10, but talk about the bravery of the Ukrainian people.
It's mind-boggling, and wouldn't it be great if we had a leader with guts?
Man, it's great to see you, and I look forward to breaking bread with you. This time on me.
All right.
All right. We'll let you guys take over, and I will go about my business of cashing in my winnings.